Hi, my name is Ruth Bateman and the date is the 8th of April 2024. So I'm an artist and what's my background? Well, I suppose I've always been creative since I was tiny, and I always found solitude and comfort in messing about with materials and generally making a mess. However, as I progressed and got older, I think my interest sort of waned from art, although I was always creative in many aspects. But I went into horses. I really wanted to be a top show jumper or dressage rider in the Olympics, and also I wanted to be a vet and many other things. But my background did inform my art a lot because I became very unwell throughout my teens and my 20s, and I was diagnosed with quite a serious illness and mental health issues. And it was quite traumatic, and I had a lot of trauma as well to go through. And my life actually became extremely debilitating, and the illnesses I felt and the isolation and many sort of misunderstandings about myself meant that I became trapped in this kind of world where I wasn't functioning at all. And eventually I did an art and access course because my parents felt I needed to do something, and this again opened up being artistic for me, and this was about late in my 20s. So I did that for a year and got really into it, although the only issue was that there were so many disciplines feeding into that year that I couldn't, to be honest with you, I didn't know what I wanted to do. Anyway, so I did that, and then I did a foundation degree in ceramics after a failed degree in fashion and textiles. I'm not a fashion and textiles person. Textiles, yes, but fashion, no. I can't, draw a straight line with a ruler, which is quite ironic. And then I went completely off the rails and went into mountaineering and outdoor pursuits, which and found my love of climbing, and then really just didn't really become a professional artist, and I would say until about 3 or 4 years ago, when I decided to discover my artistic side, trying to run away from this gnawing need to create and paint. I had ignored it for so many years and distracted myself with all these other fun things to do, and I don't see that as actually a bad thing, because I think it's really informed where I am now. However, recently last year I was diagnosed with high functioning autism and ADHD, and this has been a huge pivotal turning point for me in my life. And I realised that actually my art is my voice, and something I've never had as a silent person who became withdrawn and shut off from the world. My artist practice has allowed me to navigate and actually find my voice. I found that I could only communicate and be understood by the world by expressing myself creatively, and that is why I have a burning desire and need to paint most of the time. And I have grown and taken that through vocational year-long courses in mentoring. So my background has impacted my career and my sort of understanding of myself, and that in itself has led to me being where I am today. I think my work is about the landscape, it all stems from finding solitude, understanding, and as somebody who lives on the edge of actual disaster and functioning, just the nature of my makeup and also my mental health means that I'm on this very tiptoey line between things going quite bad or being amazing. And so my work and my essence of a person, of me, was always to seek the sublime, this idea of euphoria, but in order to get to that euphoric state of where everything is just absolutely spellbindingly amazing, you have to go through the shit, basically. And so my work is about that tension between the dark and the light, the landscape being a metaphor to how I feel about things, with the climate awareness and the environmental impacts that we're all facing now, and the distress that we see around us in the natural world is almost reflective of my own distress. I feel so aligned with the earth, with nature, that I'm like an extension or the voice of that, I feel. I'm also about representing underrepresented people. We have not had our voices heard. I was, misdiagnosed. I've been put in a pigeon box, which I don't fit into, for most of my life, and being beaten down. It's like my spirit was crushed. But being artistic and the landscape and being immersed in it through physical endurance and physical challenge, I find that is my inspiration, and this is what holds everything together. My biggest influences are, I don't really know. Do you know what? I just paint intuitively, and often then people will say your work is likened to such and such, and it's usually a mishmash of completely different styles and kind of influences. And I suppose I'm influenced by female contemporary artists. I wouldn't like to say there was anybody in particular. I just see things and then I will research around that artist. And I gauge everything as in the moment. I don't sort of hold on to somebody and idolise them. I just like to look at their work, their technique, look at how they've perhaps understood a subject, composition or technique. But I'm influenced much by the environment, actually, and also, from rock climbing and walking and cycling and hiking, and everything that I do outside just feeds into that, and I respond quite intuitively to that. And I suppose because I've never been art school educated, I've not been honed in and, sort of almost closed off from that self-expression. I'm the other way. I'm so way out there with the way I express myself and the freedom and the flow that I have, that actually I probably need to learn to rein that in a bit and be a bit more considered. But that's really hard when you've got an ADHD brain, because you're shooting off on a billion different tangents at once. So you often do get like fed up with something, and then you're totally obsessed about something else. What am I focusing on right now? Well, interestingly, I'm very much about the whole idea of greenwashing and altered landscape, and how mankind is, systematically changing the landscape that we've known, subtly and inadvertently. And that, yes, climate change and climate awareness is a big thing and it's inevitable, but how we're accelerating that. But at the same time, our approach in trying to address the issue is actually causing its own problems and that is changing the landscape that we find ourselves in, physically and metaphorically. And I am about looking at the past landscape to the present and also the future and how that could look, and hopefully through that it will give an understanding of how we need to be really mindful about how we balance this and address these issues, because we're still creating and mass producing plastic, but all this endeavour to obviously clear up plastic and recycle, but the problem is that we're still creating it, and that this plastic that we are gathering together has got to go somewhere. Wind turbines, is there going to come a point where we are going to have no trees left because we are consistently chopping them down, and we're replanting, but we're replanting in a non-constructive way. We are not following the principles of natural ecology. And my worry is that we are, slowly moving into quite almost sci-fi world if we're not careful. So my work, I hope, will depict that and ask the viewer to ask questions and think hard about, what state of the world that we're in. I try all sorts of unconventional mediums and techniques. Honestly, I will try everything that you're told and you shouldn't do, from putting oil paint over acrylics to adding mud, tea, whatever I can in paintings. I explore techniques because part of my process is about exploration, freedom, and just expression. And then from that, I begin to edit and to work on, concise balancing between composition, colour. Those elements then start to form a language, and that creates the painting. I pretty much will turn my hand to most things, and as I say, being ADHD and autistic, I have a constant flitty, nightmarish brain that's pinging off in a billion different ways, and then the autistic side is I get very obsessed and I hate change. So it's a weird juxtaposition, really. But my theory is, who said there's any wrong in art? I just got to give it a go, and what's the worst that can happen? It doesn't work, or it does work, and if it doesn't work, well, you just paint over it. Also, I use unconventional mediums in the sense of my surfaces. So I've started painting on cardboard, I paint on sheets. I literally will go to the charity shop and pick up bed sheets and paint on those and just try different things. I'm all about experimentation and using what we've got. And in a world where sustainability is, the sort of highlight, I try and reuse and sort of work with what I've got and adapt to that. I do listen to music. I listen to all sorts of music, from Rage Against the Machine to Bjork to Garbage to Radiohead to Pink Floyd, Telegraph Road, Dire Straits, hip hop, rap, EDM, rock, all spectrums. Honestly, my classical music, my musical repertoire is like a cacophony of like every single bit of music. It just really depends on what's happening, and I can be really unmotivated and I'll put something really high energy on and I'm bouncing off the walls, or I could be in a real quiet space where I'm really hyper focused and I can put something really chilled and really emotive on, and I can be in floods of tears and just so in the moment. It's great. I don't know where I go with often when I paint. I've sometimes had some raves when I'm painting, especially when I'm painting big. The best reaction someone's had to my artwork is crying, and that they've been so affected by it that they can't stop thinking about it. I've recently had a friend who viewed my work, and he said that it brought tears to his eyes. He was so moved by it, and that there was something in it that just touched a place within him that he didn't really know existed. But I think that's true art. It's about that soul. It's about authenticity and genuinely painting from a place where you're unrestricted and you are, expressing that energy. What do you hope people take away from your artwork? I really hope that they are inspired and that they see the hope despite all the darkness, and that things can change. But I also hope that they are asked questions and made to think. I'm not there to create paintings that are literal and I've told the story. My paintings are about asking the viewer to make decisions or choices, or to seek what they need out of the painting, to formulate their own viewpoint. And I think that's very individual, but I think the beauty of my work is that it allows that freedom, but it's also got very strong message through it. And I hope that they will, appreciate that that is a part of me and that there is a voice there. I hope that's okay. Thank you so much. And you can find and see my work on at Ruth Bateman Artist on Instagram. And I have a website, www.ruthbateman.com, which will be changing actually next month, but there will be notification. But Instagram is where you will find me and see my other projects and stuff. Thank you.